Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another session of Ask Zak with myself, Zak, and my trusted colleague, Sean.
Well, good evening and welcome back.
Now, tonight we're looking at unlocking the potential of genetics. Now, very, very important. If I use a common example, take me as an example and my wife. We're not star athletes, so our child, the chances of him being a star athlete is very small, because we do not carry that genetic profile within our bodies. So the chances of us transferring it to our child is very, very small. But if you take a star athlete like Usain Bolt and he gets married to another athlete, a top performing athlete, the chances of those genetics passing down to their child is extremely high, and the child might be able to perform at the highest level. Now, the same principle applies to your pigs. You cannot just take any boar or any sow of unproven history that you don't know anything about them and expect them to give you big litters, fast-growing litters. You're shooting in the dark. You cannot work like that. But when you take a top quality boar or top quality semen and put that in our sows, we know we're transferring that genetics to our little ones. And that's what's important, because those little piglets need to grow fast and they need to get onto size so that you don't spend too much on feed and get them sold at a good price. So very, very important. If you do not feed the correct feed, of course, with all these animals, they cannot perform. It's like Usain Bolt eating McDonald's the whole time. His body is not going to be able to perform, because those nutrient profiles and hamburgers is not what his body needs. He needs a very, very strict diet to have his body perform at those top levels. Now, Sean, when we talk about this genetics in short, how does it play a role with our sows, and how does the feeding play a role there?
Well, Zak, very key. When you're buying in this new and beautiful genetics in, you're trying to harvest all the feed that you're trying to put into your animal to get as much out of it. So you're buying a good food conversion ratio. You're buying in better average daily gain of your animal. So always make sure that you multiverse, you put in more into it, you make sure that you give it enough. So give your sows your lactation when they've given birth to their piglets, to make sure they don't lose condition, because if they lose condition, you lose the potential of the genetics. Give them lactation just 2 weeks before they farrow and until the piglets wean. So it's very key, always important, Zak. If you have brought in this nice genetics, make sure that you keep up with them, or else it's a waste.
Now, just to add on to what you're saying there, the main reason and the thinking behind the lactation that we give the sow beforehand is, of course, those little ones, 2 weeks before, they are taking up much more space. So her stomach is shrinking. And of course, she still needs to build up reserves. That's why a high nutrient dense feed like our lactation helps her to build up those reserves and make sure she's ready for when those piglets come. Because of course, with the PIC piglets pigs, they breed them for maximum amount of teats, and the more teats you have, of course, the more piglets they can take care of. It doesn't help if you've got a very strong sow that gives you a massive litter, but she's got only, let's say she gives you 12 piglets and she only has 8 teats, you're in for trouble. So that's why a company like Alzu PIC, Pig Improvement Company, is constantly improving on the genetics so that you can have that. Now, when it comes to our little ones, our little piglets, very, very important. Of course, when they are bred, if you use like the Alzu PIC genetics, they are geared and built for good, fast growth, and of course high weaning weights, because that's what we want. Now, when we talk about how to prepare them when it comes to feed, well, of course we cannot not speak about creep feed. Now, the main thinking behind creep feed is we introduce it already from 10 days of age. They start eating it. It's highly nutritious. So as they start eating those little bits, the tummy starts to develop. And when the stomach develops, we're preparing them, of course, for when we wean them, so that we don't get weaning shock Very, very important, because that animal is already adapted, and it's not, you don't get that fall in growth, but your growth keeps on going. So a creep feed is extremely underrated, but incredibly important for you as a pig farmer. So definitely do not skip on your creep feed, especially if you use good genetics, because they're built to grow extremely quickly. Now, Sean, when it comes to genetics, we get the Alzu PIC, but we talked about, mentioned it a few times, but what is Alzu PIC and what do they do?
Well, Alzu PIC is our version of pigs. They have your boars. You can buy your boars, you can buy your sows. You can choose from the variety that we have depending on your average daily growth, your average food conversion ratio, and also, Zak, we have brought in semen into our branch in Pretoria North. So you can either buy a boar, you can either buy a sow, you can either buy semen from Alzu PIC, and then if you only want semen, you can quickly go into Alzu branch in Pretoria North and then just buy some.
Now, very important, of course, it makes these genetics accessible to all the farmers. But if you want to learn more about the genetics and how to utilize it, of course, Alzu PIC's got their own website. It's picrsa.co.za. Of course, a lot of training manuals there that you can get additional information. And of course, when it comes down to the feed, we're there because we develop with them. So we make sure that our feed is top spec, and we make sure that we meet those requirements for that animal to be top notch, because that's what you need. Now, Sean, of course, with information comes down to sharing information. Definitely. How can people get your information from us?
Well, every Thursday we hold information days. This week we're in Nelspruit, and guess what? We're going to be talking about pigs. So bring your pig ideas, bring your pig question. We'll be there to talk about it. This Thursday, just remember to book your space and always follow us on our Facebook page to make sure that you keep up, because we are always available to give out information.
Of course, Sean is part of the technical team. We've got more people working in different areas. So of course, your services are free of charge to all Alzu customers. So very important, give us a call. We're just a phone call away. Sean's there to help you. The rest of the team is there to help you and make sure we want you to grow. And as soon as you grow, we grow, and we will all work together.
So it's a nice family all together.
So that's all for tonight. It's quite a mouthful, but yeah. Questions, ask here on the Facebook page. We're going to answer them there, or call us. But until next time, same place. Have a good evening from my side.
Have a good evening.